Okay, so this video will be about the trial software Fathom. So when you load the program, a box will pop up asking if you would like to do a preview session or use a license. Before purchasing a license, you can click preview for a 20-minute session to see if it's for you, which is what we recommend, so that's what we're going to do. So first you bring down a collection, and once you bring in that collection, you can add a table. So then in that table, we are going to enter a few values. So we'll have X, and we'll start a new column Y. You can just drag this out and it'll bring that there. So let's enter the values 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we'll add one more, 5. So then we can add, scroll this back up, we can add 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now we have values in our table. And with this table, we labeled X and Y. These are what Fathom calls attributes. We just call them variables. And then from this table, we can actually graph our data. So we'll make this a little bigger. So it says drop an attribute here. So you're going to take X, you can just drag it right there, and it pops up some dots. And you can also take Y and drop it on this axis. And now it will make you a scatter plot that looks like a linear function. You can also change this to be a line scatter plot, and you can see those lines. So now that we have our table and our graph, we can bring in a summary. And it tells you to drop an attribute here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take X and we're going to make X right here. And it automatically brings up a mean. So what you can do is right click, add basic statistics, and now in order it has mean, the count, the standard deviation, standard error, and the count missing. So as these show up as S1, S2, S3, S4, this 3 is your mean, 5 is your count, 1.58114 is your standard deviation. Your standard error is this decimal right here, and your count missing is 0. So that's just a way to kind of represent this in data right here. You can also add the 5-number summary, which, let me extend this out here. So your 5-number summary is going to be your minimum value, which will now start here. Everything is in line order, so it would correspond with this. So your minimum is 1, your Q1 is 2, your median is 3, Q3 is 4, and your max is 5, based on our X values, which are found here in our table. And all of this data is under collection 1. So now that we have that, we can actually model this as well. So I'm going to bring in a model and just drag and drop. And it gives you a little description on how to use it. So you pick what kind of model you want. We're going to pick simple regression. So for the response, that is actually going to be our Y. And for our predictor, that's going to be X. X is the one that we manipulate. Y is the one that responds to that manipulation. So then as you bring that up, it gives you the sample count, so how many values are in this table, and then it gives you your regression line. So you have a linear equation y equals x plus 2. It gives you your correlation coefficient, your r-squared, and it just says indicating that 100% of the variation in y is accounted for by x. And then it goes into the best estimate for slope. So that's just kind of a quick overview of Fathom. You can also bring in another collection if you wanted to. So if you scroll down, you can bring in another collection. And now everything you do in this collection will be part of collection 2. We can just kind of drag and drop. You can move things around, make them bigger, make them smaller. We also have an estimate tool that we can use to estimate population parameters, which is kind of cool. So you can choose what kind of estimate you want. You want estimate of mean, you can drop your attribute. So let's just do, in this table, we'll have X, we'll have 0, 1, 2, and 3. And so now drag your attribute, put it here, and it'll give you your sample count, your mean, your standard deviation, and your standard error, which is the same thing that our model right here gave us. So it was able to do that for us. And if you scroll down, it also gives you that confidence interval, which you can see by this percentage here. Now, something really cool that you can do with Fathom is you can actually import statistics from the internet. So if you want to look at the statistics for your favorite sport, you can do that, or any other kind of statistics of something you just want to look at, which is fantastic for the classroom. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to utilize this. So we're going to bring in our collection, and then we're going to go to Google. So let's just look at football statistics. Alright, and once this loads up, we can actually look at standings and team statistics. Once this loads up, alright, so now this is up. We can scroll down and you can see the standings for AFC and NFC. So we're actually going to look at the statistics for AFC from East, North, South, and West. So what you can do is you can highlight the entire table, come over to Fathom, you can right click this and you're going to click Paste Cases. So once you click Paste Cases, you're going to bring down a table and all of your information is already in the table. So we have all of the teams, we have their wins, losses, ties, win to lose percentage, points that they've scored, points that they've been scored against. Alright, so now that we have all this information in the table, we can bring in a graph. And let's say that we want to look at the wins. So we're going to drag that attribute over here. And it does it all in a dot plot. You can also change what kind of plot you have. So if you want to do a histogram, it will change it right there. And it doesn't give you the teams for it. It just gives you their wins. So if you wanted to drag the teams in, you could drag that over here. And you can rename the attribute if you'd like. So now we have the teams in there, we have their wins, and we can see how many that they have. So you can easily see, oh, the Ravens have 10 wins for last season. So you can play around with that, you can change the kind of graphs that you have, you can do a box plot. Now because you have the teams in there, it's not going to do it. And you can move your teams around. So if we want, we can actually put in a new graph and look at just one attribute. So we'll look at the wins. And we'll bring in our histogram. There it shows all the wins, and we can look at our box plot. And it'll give you the values. So your interquartile range, your min, your max. You can do a percentile plot. You can do a line plot for the wins. And we're going to go back to our histogram. We can also bring in our summary. Drag in your wins. Right click. And we're just going to do the 5-number summary. Make this big enough to see. So now we have all that in here, and we can change this back to a box plot, and you can actually see some of these values. So it'll show you your min, which is 4, Q1, which is 6, your median, which is 8, your Q3, which is 10.5, and your max, which is 12. And it also gives you your mean because that's what the summary automatically gives you. So it's really kind of cool. You can use this in your classroom to kind of bring real world things in. You can have them look at statistics for anything you like. Once you purchase the license, you can actually save your work and bring it up for students to do in class. And it's very nice for them to look at.